All right, everybody, it's Tokyo, and we're back with more crypto stuff. So today we're going to be looking into Ripple, and we're going to be doing some Ripple research. So my main thing is to basically like figure out if Ripple is a good investment or not. And the reason I want to do this is because I want to know for myself whether or not I should be focused on Ripple, and I'm sure you do too. And I'm sure you also want to know if Ripple makes sense in 2025. So it's 2025 and we're trying to figure out, okay, like what's the best investment that's really going to like be a difference maker for like this year. So I'm actually gonna just write down Ripple as well, just like so somewhere, so I remember that, like we talked about Ripple XRP. And then so my the way I want to go about this is I'm just gonna like read like the white paper of Ripple, and if there's any like interesting articles about Ripple, then that will also make sense to go over. So I've got the Ripple protocol right here actually. So we're just gonna read it together, and that way, like if you don't want to be looking at the screen, you can like just put me in your ears for your headphones, and that's really what it's gonna be. So okay, so we're gonna start the Ripple Protocol Consensus Algorithm by David Schwartz, david@ripple.com. So he gave out his whole email if you were ever wondering. What his email was. And this paper does not reflect the current state of the Ledger Consensus Protocol or its analysis. We will continue hosting this draft for historical interest, but it should not be used as a reference for an update, analysis, and presentation of the Consensus Protocol. Please refer to this right here. Okay, so let's actually go there. Okay, so let me just open the link in a new tab, and then so Cornell University has this analysis of XRP Ledger Consensus Protocol. It's 25 pages. The XRP Ledger Consensus Protocol is a previously developed consensus protocol powering the XRP Ledger. It is a low-latency Byzantine agreement protocol capable of reaching consensus without full agreement on which nodes are members of the network. We present a detailed explanation of the algorithm and derived conditions for its safety and liveness. All right, so let's see if we could actually like find this somewhere, because it's not looking like it's letting us read the paper. So PDF analysis, I think this is it. Okay, so let's see. Topology analysis of XRP Ledger. Figure 1. Okay, so this doesn't seem to be like what we're actually looking for. Okay, download file PDF. I hope this is not a virus. Okay, let's see. Okay, so no, this looks like to be like the actual thing. Analysis of the XRP Ledger Consensus Protocol. So I think that's my cat in the background. Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna go open the door for her. Okay, so we're gonna read this second, but the first one we're actually going to read is the original, like just white paper. Let's just get that one out the way, and then we're gonna move on. So we're gonna be like doing an analysis of Ripple. So we're gonna just be going article for article for article, trying to figure out, okay, like this is the third like most hype crypto in by market cap. So we should be reading about this. Okay, so the abstract. While several consensus algorithms exist for the Byzantine generals problem, specifically as it pertains to distributed payment systems, many suffer from high latency induced by the requirement that all nodes within the network communicate synchronously. In this work, we present a novel consensus algorithm that circumvents this requirement by utilizing collectively trusted subnetworks within the large network. We show that the trust required of these subnetworks is in fact minimal and can be further reduced with principal choice of the member nodes. In addition, we show that minimal connectivity is required to maintain agreement throughout the whole network. The result is a low latency consensus algorithm, which still maintains robustness in the face of Byzantine failures. We present this algorithm and its embodiment in the Ripple protocol. Okay, so that was a lot. And don't worry if you don't understand what's going on, because we're learning together. So actually, like, we're all learning about crypto and we're all doing this together. So don't worry if you feel like, oh, like, you may not totally understand like all the verbiage or and whatnot. So don't worry about that. So let's see. Interest and research in distributed consensus systems has increased markedly in recent years. With a central focus. Oh, this, by the way, I just a pimple patch. I got a pimple right here, so I'm just putting a patch on it. Don't worry about that. So, interest and research in distributed consensus systems has increased markedly in recent years. With a central focus being on distributed payment networks, such networks allow for fast, low-cost transactions which are not controlled by a centralized source. While the economic benefits and drawbacks of such a system are worthy of much research in and of themselves, hold on, one of my lights just went out. Okay. In and of themselves, where was I? Okay, and so this work focuses on some of the technical challenges that all distributed payment systems must face. Oh, they must face it. So it's not like you can or might, it's you must face this challenge. While these problems are varied, we group them into three main categories: correctness, agreement, and utility. By correctness, we mean that it is necessary for a distributed system to be able to discern the difference between a correct and fraudulent transaction. In traditional fiduciary settings, this is done through trust between institutions and cryptographic signatures that guarantee a transaction is indeed coming from the institution that it claims to be coming from. In distributed systems, however, there is no such trust, as the identity of any and all members in the network may not even be known. Therefore, alternative methods for correctness must be utilized. Agreement refers to the problem of maintaining a single global truth in the face of a decentralized accounting system. While similar to the correctness problem, the difference lies in the fact that while a malicious user of the network may be unable to create a fraudulent transaction, define correctness, it may be able to create multiple correct transactions that are somehow unaware of each other and thus combine to create a fraudulent act. Okay, so now he's going to give an example. For example, a malicious user may make two simultaneous purchases with only enough funds in their account to cover each purchase individually, but not both together. Okay, so what they're saying is that we're going to buy two things. We're going to make two purchases, but we only have enough money to buy one of these things, but we're going to buy it twice. Thus, each transaction by itself is correct, but if executed simultaneously in such a way that the distributed network as a whole is unaware of both, a clear problem arises, commonly referred to as a double spend problem. All right. Thus, the agreement problem that can be summarized as the requirement that only one set of globally recognized transactions exists in the network. Utility is a slightly more abstract problem which we define generally as the usefulness of a distributed payment system, but which in practice most often simplifies to the latency of the system. A distributed system that is both correct and in agreement, but which requires 1 year to process a transaction, for example, is obviously an invaluable payment system. Additional aspects of utility may include the level of computing power required to participate in the correctness and agreement processes, or the technical proficiency required of an end user to avoid being defrauded in the network. Many of these issues have been explored long before the advent of modern distributed computer systems via a problem known as the Byzantine generals problem. In this problem, a group of generals each control a portion of an army and must coordinate an attack by sending messages to each other. Because the generals are in unfamiliar and hostile territory, messengers may fail to reach their destination, just as nodes in a distributed network may fail or send corrupted data instead of the intended message. An additional aspect of the problem is that some of the generals may be traitors, either individually or conspiring together, and so messages may arrive which are intended to create a false plan that is doomed to failure for the loyal generals, just as malicious members of a distributed system may attempt to convince the systems to accept fraudulent transactions, or multiple versions of the same truthful transaction that would result in a double spend. Thus, a distributed payment system must be robust both in the face of standard problems, of standard failures and so-called Byzantine failures, which may be coordinated and originate from multiple sources in the network. In this work, we analyze one particular implementation of a distributed payment system, the Ripple protocol. We focus on the algorithms utilized to achieve the above goals of correctness, agreement, and utility, ensure that all are met with the necessary and predetermined tolerance thresholds, which are well understood. In addition, we provide code that simulates the consensus process with parameterizable network size, number of malicious users, and message sending latencies. Definitions, formalization, and previous work. We begin by defining the components of the Ripple protocol in order to prove correctness, agreement, and utility properties. We first formalize those properties into axioms. These properties, when grouped together, form the notion of consensus, the state